So Solo Leveling is one of the most popular anime on Crunchyroll. If you guys didn't see my previous video on Solo Leveling, please check it out. But before that, it was one of the most popular webtoons that actually put webtoons on the map from an international lens. And today I want to talk about how Solo Leveling changed the webtoon industry. It was not always the way it is now. Actually, Solo Leveling, in my opinion, had a very impactful pivot on the webtoon industry. And I think it will also have an important pivot on the anime industry after the Solo Leveling anime success. Naver Webtoon just announced that they're doing like 20 plus anime productions. Again, this is coming on the back of Solo Leveling's success, right? And so Solo Leveling, again, as a franchise, has absolutely transformed the anime industry and also the webtoon industry. And who am I to talk about all this? I'm Brandon Chen. I'm a writer-producer for the manga webtoon space. I run a studio Inspire Productions that makes the stories that I come up with and puts them out. And the successful ones, we try to take to animation. And before I get into this video, please smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really is a free way to help us out. And subscribe if you're interested in more of the educational side of anime, manga, and webtoons. So I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you know what Solo Leveling is. If you guys don't, it is a system power fantasy. It has unique aspects of weak to strong, but also overpowered. Well, in my opinion, those are the two ways to really write like meta mainstream shonen these days. And I want to talk about like what the webtoon space was like before Solo Leveling. Before Solo Leveling, really the meta, and it's kind of still the meta now, is romance and slice of life. Romance and slice of life are by far like the most popular and the lowest risk you can take for the webtoon platforms, right? Even Webtoon US, if you look at like Webtoon US, you look at Tapas, what are the top series, right? It's like 9 out of the 10 top series are all romance related, right? And when you look at the the engagement for even like the lowest performing romance webtoons, those are usually still outperforming a lot of the action stuff. So before Solo Leveling, and still even in today's market, romance was the dominant force, and that's because a lot of actually female readers are the ones who are primarily reading the webtoon stuff. And that's not just US market, that's also in Korea and Japan. It's across the board. Romance is the dominant genre. Let's say it with me. Romance is the dominant genre. But if you want to build a franchise, in my opinion, it is a lot harder to use romance as the core driving genre to build a franchise. It's fine for making like standalone films or even like trilogy films like, I don't know, Crazy Rich Asians or something like that. But if you want to build something like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Naruto, One Piece, those are all focused around action adventure or like fighting type series. And so, you know, as webtoons started to grow as a medium, like the focus has really shifted not solely towards romance. They're still really focused on romance, but like if you want to build franchises, you have to start thinking about the other side, which is drama, action, adventure, that kind of stuff, right? And so Solo Leveling was kind of the pivoting point, in my opinion, for a lot of this shift towards action fantasy, which again is now probably like the second, you know, it's like romance, action fantasy, right? All the guys are reading the action system stuff, and then all the girls are reading the romance stuff. And for me, Solo Leveling was the gateway into webtoon. A lot of the international readers will read Solo Leveling and then get into the webtoon space. Like Solo Leveling is usually the first read that gets them in here. Because before Solo Leveling, webtoons were quite niche, in my opinion. Manga was sort of niche, but a little bit more popular because there was anime, but webtoons did not have like a lot of transmedia or film or TV adaptations. So there was nothing to really put them on the map. And Solo Leveling was the one who provided that gateway for a lot of international readers outside of Korea and also Japan. But let's talk about why Solo Leveling was able to do that. You know, Solo Leveling, of course, was not the first series to do a system power fantasy. It was actually a web novel before the webtoon, and in my opinion, there's a few reasons why Solo Leveling was the one to still transform the space. I'm gonna say it's because of the story structure and because of the art. I don't necessarily think it was because of the Solo Leveling's writing necessarily. I think that there's better written stories. I think there's better written characters, but the story structure of Solo Leveling is really addicting. Ultimately, it's about this quite interesting structure for storytelling, right? You have a weak to strong trope where you have a character that he's like, I want to save my mom who's in this coma, so I do these jobs and fighting monsters, and I kind of get the shit beaten out of me because I'm so weak, and you kind of feel bad for the guy. And his mission is quite simple, and his mission is quite empathetic. You know, he wants to save his mom, but you have the expectation that he's going to become strong because obviously the writer's not going to keep him so weak the entire time. And so when he does become strong, weak to strong, kind of like Dragon Ball, you feel that it's earned because you're watching him become stronger as he works through this system that is granting him power over time, right? And that can be quite addicting because you're kind of following him throughout the journey of systematically, like a video game, getting this strength. And eventually he reaches the point where he becomes a little bit overpowered, right? And when he's beating up these like bad guys, it feels like those bad guys deserve it, right? It's similar to One Punch Man, where the main character is able to come in and one-shot those monsters. The reason One Punch Man works is because you feel like those monsters or bad guys deserve it. Same thing, Solo Leveling. The scenarios are either the bad guy deserves the beatdown because he's so evil. One example would be, you know, when that one villain was luring adventurers into the dungeon to murder them. When Sun Jin Woo, the main character, shows up to save the day and give this guy an overpowered beatdown, you feel like that villain deserves it. So that's why it can be quite enjoyable for a reader to see that kind of story. The other scenario is like you see a bunch of like heroes. Again, this is against Beru, the ant monster. You see a bunch of heroes you are rooting for some reason. They're getting their shit absolutely kicked, and you're just like waiting for Sun Jin Woo as a superhero to come and save the day. That's quite an addicting thing as well. So that's quite, you know, that's all built into the story structure. And then there's also the weak to strong. You're watching him get stronger over time. But also when he's fighting someone like Beru, who's like the ant monster, there are fights where it's like he's punching up a little bit. It's not like he's just beating down like an absolute like weakling. It's like this guy is a little bit stronger than me, and so I'm actually have some high stakes and high struggle in certain fights. And so I think because Solo Leveling has some interesting combination of weak to strong, but also like overpowered MC, that can be quite addicting. And well, it does get up repetitive in my opinion towards the end, but you know, at the beginning to middle part, it's super addicting. The cliffhangers are done really well. The power fantasy where you want to see him continue to get stronger and seeing how far he can go is done quite well. And the story, in my opinion, doesn't try to be something too complicated. It's really just simple. This guy is getting stronger and he's getting stronger, honestly, towards the end for the sake of getting stronger, right? It doesn't try to be like something that it's not, which I, you know, can respect. And because of that very simple storyline, I think a lot of readers really grabbed onto it quite quickly. And once you grab onto it, you get addicted through all the cliffhangers that are done very well. Now, what's really captured people to read it to begin with? I think, again, the art really pioneered the webtoon space. Solo Leveling, which again, the studio Redice is the one behind Solo Leveling's webtoon adaptation. Sun Jin Woo is appealing throughout. Even when he's a weakling, he's kind of like a cute, handsome guy, but then he turns into an absolute hunk that's shredded out of his mind, appealing to women, appealing to guys, great to look at. And so that's one thing. Super hot main character. And then also like super badass effects. The glow effect, the aura effect, the glowing eyes, how the main character always looks in terms of angles. It's always like low angle looking up at him because he's always like looking down at you to make him more imposing. The way that Studio Redice really conveyed Sun Jin Woo is done and copied by a lot of different webtoon studios today, and that's because they always were really good at making Sun Jin Woo really hot and appealing and badass. A webtoon editor once told me that your job as a writer-producer is that you're basically a webtoon character's lawyer. Your job is to make them look good. Studio Redice was so good at making Sun Jin Woo look good. Every other character is kind of like somewhat irrelevant in my opinion compared to Sun Jin Woo, but they did a really good job at making Sun Jin Woo. Again, it's called Solo Leveling. All that matters is Sun Jin Woo. They did an amazing job at making him look good. Dynamic panels and dynamic fights, making Sun Jin Woo also look absolutely badass when he's aura farming right before he comes to save the day. This is something that the anime captured really well as well. And again, all of that stuff was carefully crafted by the studio to make you as the reader just like constantly want to see more of him. With Solo Leveling success having a simple storyline, really appealing art, addicting story structure, naturally what happened next was Korean studios were like, we need to make more. We need more Solo Leveling. Or like they were like, we need to copy that because we need to make a replica so that we can also reap in the success of this new Solo Leveling wave. And so what ended up happening was a lot of fantasy stuff started just getting pumped out into the market, or system action stuff. And then obviously that has deviated more into like isekai content and all that kind of stuff, which has become like just action stuff. Action system fantasy stuff has just become so popular in the market now. And it's not all fully attributed to Solo Leveling. I would say Solo Leveling paved the path for a lot of that. Also adjacently in the anime market, the Japanese market, isekai was also popping off through other stories stories that were different, like Sword Art Online and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's kind of crazy how far the genre has come. There has been very high increase in male audiences that have started to get into the webtoon space. And you guys can tell me, but like, if Solo Leveling was your gateway webtoon, like, please say that in the comments, because for a lot of people it is. And then they're like, wow, let me read like another webtoon. Oh, I'm getting into regression webtoons. Oh, I'm getting into isekai. Oh, I'm getting into like martial arts. You know, I think for the webtoon space on the international level, Solo Leveling was the one who transformed that, and also like shifted Korea's strategy in terms of what they wanted to do for stories that were targeting boys. Again, I do want to emphasize Solo Leveling's not the first one to do it. It is the one that transformed the business, right? Anyway, let me know if Solo Leveling was the story that got you into webtoon, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or if you disagree with me, that's also fine too. Yeah, I'll catch you guys on next week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.